and Teresa. Down there.
This is your 1 minute warning.
Recording in progress.
All right. Hi, everyone. It's 5 p.m. And we will call this meeting of the Development and Services Committee to order. Just a point of order, I guess. Miss Newton is attending virtually. And so therefore, I will be acting as chair today, but Miss Newton is still chair, just joining us remotely today. Okay, so that'll bring us to number one. So this call to order. Will you take the roll, Ms. Carrillo?
Branham.
Here.
Teresa.
Here.
Barron.
Here.
English.
Present.
Newton. We have a quorum.
Thank you. That brings us to item 2, the approval of our minutes. 2A from May 21st, 2024, found on pages 5 and 6 of our agenda packet. Is there a motion regarding the minutes?
Move to approve. Second.
Properly seconded. Any additions, deletions to those minutes? Okay, thank you. We'll call the roll to approve the minutes.
Branham.
Yes.
Teresa.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. That brings us to item 3.
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, yes?
Thank you. I was having some technical difficulties when you called the roll, so if it can just be noted that I'm present. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That brings us to item 3, the adoption of our agenda. Are there any suggested modifications to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded. We'll take the vote to adopt our agenda.
Branham.
Yes.
Teresa.
Yes?
Barron.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
That brings us to item 4, items for action, of which there are several. 4A is direct the administrator to research and present to council current laws and benefits of enacting impact fees in Richland County. The purpose is to help reduce the tax burden on residents by not having to pay the complete cost of development in Richland County. That started out with former council member Malinowski and is currently by Pugh and Newton, and that was from January 3rd, 2023. It looks like ACA Jensen is preparing to speak to us. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I be recognized?
Yes, you're recognized.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you today. As stated by the chair, this item was brought forward by a previous council member and is now being carried by 2 current council members. Impact fees are a very important tool in terms of making sure that development occurs properly and is borne appropriately, costs are borne appropriately, but it is also a very complicated and very challenging issue. What you have before you today is a preliminary report from probably the most respected firm in the industry, and it suggests that there are 5 different impact fees the council could consider moving forward with. I wanted to note that in the report, when he says that he recommends that the council move forward with these, that does not mean, as not a political or a contextual situation. That is simply saying that he says that there is legal standing or that it is feasible for you to move forward to consider these. And so the next step in his recommendation would be for the council to engage in a full study and to prepare an ordinance and to consider which, if any of these, they would want to move forward with an impact fee. And so it is our recommendation as staff that the committee conduct or schedule a work session at which these bigger issues and topics could be fleshed out.
Thank you. Questions, comments from our colleagues? Yes, Ms. Barron?
I just make a comment, and that is that I think the information that was provided to us is extremely helpful. And I would agree with you that a work session would be even more so helpful, just like we just participated in one for the transportation penny. In these sessions, we're able to kind of have the meeting of the minds. And I really would like for us to have this work session prior to this body moving forward with any action. I think that that's sometimes we put the cart before the horse. And so I'd like for us to be able to dig deeper into a conversation about the impact fees and which direction we like to go. And then the committee reconvenes to have further discussion, and then with the hopes that a motion would come out from there. So thank you, Mr. Jensen, for gathering this information, because it is indeed helpful and totally different from what I researched, what I found. So thank you.
Thank you. I saw Ms. Newton had her hand up, and then Ms. English.
Thank you. Just again, appreciate the staff following up on this. And I will say that the initial report was much more encouraging than I was originally expecting based on some of South Carolina's history with impact fees. Looking at all of the work sessions and meetings that we have as it relates to the penny, my suggestion would be that unless there's some other time-sensitive item that hasn't been brought up yet, that we look at late July, August, that kind of time frame for scheduling the work session, because we will get much better participation from our colleagues. That's all.
Thank you for being considerate of your colleagues and knowing us well. Anything further from the body here? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. English, yes.
That's fine. I already mentioned this regarding ordinances. Will you guys be providing, I guess, as a current tool, go by or a guide, anything that currently exists?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes, you may be recognized.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. English. If we moved further along, if we did a work session, then yes, we would provide information such as example ordinances from other jurisdictions here in South Carolina. Mm-hmm.
Anything further? I suppose do we need to take a vote to schedule a work session? Or can we just do that?
Yeah, well, if you want to take the action of actually having a work session, you can vote to take it to the full body to have a work session regarding impact fees.
Thank you. What I noticed here was that I think the recommendation was that the committee have a work session. Is that allowed? So the committee can have a work session and then just invite the full council? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then Ms. Carrillo, can you work with the committee members and full council members to get a date on the books? Thank you. Okay. I believe that's all that's needed on that item. That will bring us to 4B, the Department of Public Works, Engineering, City of Columbia, sewer easement request, 1817 Omarest Drive. And then just noting, looking down the row, there are two more of these. So, and I believe that we have someone, Mr. Davis, on Zoom to be I'm sorry.
Well, actually,
Dr. Thompson,
Madam
yes.
Chairwoman, we have our county engineer, Sharani Fuller, here. But let me just get the ball rolling on this first one. So item 4B And as you mentioned, 4C and 4D. And so for the first one, 4B, the City of Columbia is requesting a sewer easement for installation of a new sanitary sewer line. And if you all have any specific question that you would like answered, we have our county engineer here once again.
Questions or comments from the body? Yes, Ms. English.
I'm really appreciative of this. I just have a question simply because I'm having something that's occurring in District 10 and 11 where other municipalities have not contacted residents regarding moving forward with taking up their yards, no surveys. And I have one that the fence is clearly on private property. One who they're taking half her yard and they haven't been contacted. So I would just ask that during this easement that those residents be notified.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And further to that, can you walk us through maybe the process of how this happens, or
Madam Chair, if you'll recognize Ms. Fuller.
yes, Ms. Fuller, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for these three in particular, the request actually came from the City of Columbia, so they are the utility provider. And for all three, the properties are owned by Richland County, so there are no other entities or residents involved here.
And in the case of what Ms. English was talking about, what, if any, part can the county play to ensure that when this happens to, say, residents, that our constituents are not, the impact on them is mitigated in terms of their knowing in advance and being able to prepare and those kinds of things?
Yes, ma'am. So an easement is a legal process requiring a form, and the property owner does have to sign. So I'd be happy to speak with you, Ms. English, about the specifics of those situations, because I don't know them. But if these are new easements where they're coming on, putting new installations down, then they should have gotten the property owner's permission first.
Maloney is at his finger up.
Okay, okay.
Oh, okay, yes. Thank you. Director Maloney.
Madam Chair. So this is along the river, and we do have a kind of a park lake area. Been there with administration for some cleanup activities, but there is a residential neighborhood that they'll be essentially driving through to do this large construction project to put a new interceptor sewer in. So I think it would be something we could do to make sure that neighborhood's notified of the project and require that condition of approval of this particular easement, that the city, informs county staff of the notice to proceed dates for this contract.
Thank you, Ms. Maloney.
Thank you. So do we want to take action on these one at a time? Or is there a motion regard? Okay, yes. So is there further discussion on 4B? Yes, 4B.
And if I'm not out of order, move to, approve to turn over to council or to go before council's A, B, and C.
Oh, sorry, do you mean 4B, C, and D? Okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on these items? Okay. All right, we're good? All right, yeah, we'll take the vote.
Branham,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes?
Barron,
Yes?
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. That brings us to item 4E. Department of Public Works Engineering Land Manual Revision 2024 update. That can be found on pages 62 through 236 of our packet.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, if you'll recognize the county engineer, Sharani Fuller.
Thank you, Ms. Fuller, again.
Thank you. So I apologize for having to insert the entire manual, but it is an update to the manual that was originally produced in 2021. That's when it was approved by council, was in November of 2021 and became effective the following February of 2022. So it does provide general guidance. It's considered more of a living document. So it does run parallel and aligns with the code and the ordinance itself, but it provides more of a standard and general guidance and policies for the development community. So what we would like to do moving forward is at least take a look at it once a year because things do change. So this is the first update, though, since 2021. And so you don't have to read the whole policy. If you do in the packet, I'm not sure how it was presented, but in the packet itself, just for the land development manual, I'm on page 25, and there is a small table on that page. The last column of that table says revisions, and all 4 items say 2024. The page number is actually 22 at the bottom for the manual itself. So those 4 items there, those are what you're going to see as the actual revisions as far as policy goes to the manual. So a lot of it fell under just general updates. So if there was something in the new code, the new Chapter 26 code, or something that the state did, we went ahead and made those cleanup items. Some general language cleanup. If we're consistently asking about certain things, we cleaned up some definitions, that sort of stuff. The other 3 are technical. One was to the infiltration BMP requirements. Another was to easements, which are proposed for public dedication. And the last one was to road geometry for horizontal and vertical curves. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I saw Ms. Newton had her hand up. Still want to speak, Ms.
Thank
Newton?
you. I've lowered my hand. Yeah, Engineer Fuller answered my questions, and I deeply regret that I missed the note in the briefing document where it said the summary was on page 20. I would have loved to have made note of that sooner. But just for the public, again, the majority of the changes are really minor changes, keeping our code and our land development code and other policies in line. So I'm fine with this.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the body? Ms. Barron?
Could I say one other thing, Mr. Ratio? I'm sorry.
Sure, if that's okay with Ms. Barron.
I just want to commend the staff for making the determination to review these documents annually, because we do have a lot of things that are changing in Richland County, sometimes in particular communities, and I appreciate and respect the proactiveness here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barron?
So that's where I was going to start with the thank you, because I think sometimes we wait too long to review documents, and you know, we have the saying that documents are a living, breathing thing, right? In order for it to be living, breathing, you have to pay attention to it. I appreciate that a lot. And then the other thing is just, this is small and minute, but as I look at the document, there are lots of strike throughs, lots of revision. I'm assuming that that is to make sure that this document is aligned with our new land development code. Is that where we get all the strike throughs? I know what the summary says, but I just want to just put that out there. Somebody's looking at this, it's like, look like we messed up a whole bunch of stuff and started over.
Yes, if you're at the very beginning, there is a lot of strike-throughs to the table of contents and the index, because what we did was it was easier just to delete the entire thing and then create a new one. So the first couple of pages, it does look pretty bad. Once you get into the document, yes, ma'am, there are basically 3 technical changes, and then the rest of it was just general cleanup to align with either the code or state policies, or provide some clarification.
Thank you, because I just wanted, I know for some of my local friends that are going to take a look at this document, I want them to, when they're watching this meeting, that they can hear us say, that those are basic, just revisions where we just started all over again. So thank you for clearing that up.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Anyone else for this item? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the update as presented?
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, we'll call the roll for the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes?
Barron,
Yes?
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. That brings us to 4F. Department of Public Works, Solid Waste, Drop-Off Center Hours of Operation. That's on pages 237 through 239 of our packet. Director Maloney, do you want to address this one item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Thompson. This is aligning the working hours of the Lower Richland Drop-Off Center and the Clemson Road Drop-Off Center, and they would be the same. So on page 3 of 3 of our agenda briefing, we have different hours right now. One's open on Monday, closed on Tuesday, open Wednesday, closed Thursday, that sort of thing. And then the other one has different closed day hours. And one's running at about 40.5 hours per week. That would be Lower Richland, and Clemson's running at 45 hours a week. We're getting the 2 to 42 and a half hours with the lunch hours we have. That puts our staff at the 37 and a half work hours, which is our standard work week. So all easy to remember. Before I even reviewed the agenda briefing, it's open Tuesday through Saturday, 8 to 4:30. It allows Sunday and Monday to become the weekend of those employees that are assigned to this, and they've been asking for this as well. So one of the problems with being open on Sunday, for instance, is that, well, one, it's a special day. Two, we don't have vendors to take any of our materials to when they fill. So a lot of action can happen on Saturday late in the day, and we don't have ability to get those cans pulled and taken to where they need to go. And then there you are on Sunday with them full. So there's no landfills open, et cetera, for that. So we would like to align both locations. This does not change the landfill hours, but it's just for these two remote drop-off centers.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns? Ms. English?
No real concerns. I just need to make sure our Lower Richland residents know. Thank you.
Oh, yes, you recognized.
We understand we didn't, there would need to be PIO outreach on this and well in advance. This was a part of our presentation when we did talk about the Lower Richland Drop-Off Center. We've had nothing to communicate this on Clemson Road. But in either case, in both cases, we do need to have a good advanced PIO communication on this.
And let me add, Madam Chair,
Yes.
that in this briefing document, it does mention that staff will post 45 days in advance at the property, just to ensure that everybody understands that we will have this change if council approves.
Thank you. And Ms. English, does that conclude your question?
I was just gonna, all needed us town hall meeting.
Thank you. Ms. Newton?
Thank you, Ms. Teratio. And I don't make it a habit of repeating exactly what the previous person to me said, but this warrants exact verbatim repeating of what the previous person said, that we especially need to make sure that we have advanced communication with the Lower Richland community, particularly because the change to the trailer size at the dump site happened without broad notification. And so while I appreciate us putting a notice at the site, we also need to make sure we do other forms of notice, because that doesn't help you if you only go to the site every now and then and you show up on a Monday and it's closed. And so there may be additional meetings or whatever we want to have as it relates to the Lower Richland community. But in 45 days seems like a long time, but if we could just really, really do everything in our power, beyond posting a sign, beyond, just social media, to make sure that we get the word out, because so many changes have happened there that caught people by surprise. So thanks.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay. Is there a motion regarding this item? Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Great. We'll take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Teresia,
Yes.
Barron. Yes. English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. That will bring us to item 4G, Utilities Southeast Sewer Master Plan. That's on pages 240 through 267 of our packet.
Madam Chairperson?
Yes.
We have Bill Davis joining us virtually. If you'll recognize him, please, ma'am.
Thank you. I tried to recognize him way in advance. So, Mr. Davis.
I hope everybody can hear me. It won't let me do video. Somebody's got me disabled, but I apologize for if it sounds bad. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Oh, good. I had to get off my computer. It wasn't working well. So this project is basically a Southeast Master Plan, which would take us 20 years into the future, not back to the future, but into the future. And I think it would give us a very much a leg up on what we've seen in the past, whereas we've typically been a reactive water and sewer provider throughout Richland County. And the mission of Richland County Utilities is to provide water and sewer services to the unincorporated areas in Richland County. And this is an attempt for us to do just that. And so the master plan is the first step. First of all, it gets us past phase one, which phase one was what we built in the Southwest Water and Sewer. We built that a couple of years ago, came online. And this is the next step, which would be phase 2 and 3 of what we're looking at to be the Southwest Water and Sewer of the future. So as you see, this is a comprehensive packet. I'll take questions, but it will cost money. And one of the things I wanted to point out is that $100 million seems like a lot, and it is, but in 2019 dollars, that would be $50 million, roughly. And we spent $25 million or so on the Southwest Water and Sewer Plan. So it makes perfect sense that the next step in growing the wastewater plant, growing the infrastructure to get us to that area would give us another, $50 million in 2019 terms, which is $100 million in today's term. These are not done immediately. These are not already designed. These are conceptual in nature and in a sense to bring us to a sustainable system that's going to have the ability to accept growth, the ability to accept industrial growth, residential growth, and hopefully some commercial growth along the way, and in an area that has been barren of growth in probably over 50 years. And so with that, I'll take questions.
Thank you. Questions from the body? Also looking to see if Ms. Newton has any. Okay, I do see Ms. Newton's hand up.
You know me so well, Ms. Teresa. So thank you, Mr. Davis. And we had extensive phone conversations about this where you answered my question. But I guess for the benefit of anyone listening, if I could just repeat a really small part of my understanding, Mr. Davis, and you can confirm if this is correct, that again, what we're looking at in our package are what could potentially happen on the short term, what could potentially happen on the intermediate term, and what could potentially happen on the long term. And so while this is our effort at master planning what we think makes the most sense, your department will still be agile to make changes, and this isn't necessarily set in stone, but it's your best attempt to say, looking at the area, looking at how we can provide better service, this is what makes the most sense over time. Please correct anything I said that is wrong, Mr. Davis.
Oh, yes, ma'am. That was actually very eloquent and very well said. I think that, when you're looking at plans, the best laid plans, don't change at all. But most of the time we can't get there. So that's where we would say anywhere between 2 and 5 years, you would make those course corrections. So whereas we're providing a roadmap for 5, 10, 20 years, that roadmap may change based on conditions, may change based on cost, may change based on technology. There's a lot of things that could cause deviations, but in general, the roadmap would take us to the same destination, which would be trying to come up with a system that's sustainable, that protects the environment. That's, one of our biggest things is let's put something in that requires less cost in the long run for the ratepayers. And that's where gravity sewer systems have such an advantage over pressure systems with pump stations and lots of moving equipment. You have way more maintenance, way more cost, way more personnel than if you let, gravity take its course. Obviously, gravity is just like the apple falling on your head. You stood under the tree and the apple hit you in the head. It wasn't a lot of effort, according to Newton, for that apple to fall and hit you in the head. If we let the gravity take the sewer, then the sewer kind of pays for itself in the long run. And it's a much more sustainable system with a higher level of service.
And Madam Horatio, I just want to clarify that the Newton he was referring to was Isaac Newton, no relation. Thank you.
Well, you're just as smart, Miss Newton.
Oh. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for kind of pulling that out, Ms. Newton, for everyone to hear. Other questions? Yes, I see Miss English.
Not really a question, but I just kind of wanted to say, I know me and Mr. Davis have been kind of working on this since the day I became elected, but having a sustainable, solid infrastructure in place in an area, and I won't say necessarily abandoned, but an area that has so much potential growth, it really means a lot to our community and having this. And I kind of put this on the area of the previous council when they voted to have the land for that Scout Motors now occupies. And so with that, we'll be able to grow and not just grow, but have that sustainable growth that we can actually look at and not have, and I've said this a million times, not have that Clemson Road or hardscrabble coming through, but it's already there, it's already planned out, and we'll be able to work with that. So I really appreciate the work that's being done on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments from the body? Just for my part, I just wanted to kind of state that number 5 in the plan, I guess on page 262 of our agenda packet, does lay out some funding options. So that is something I like to see and appreciate. So we do have, we are looking for where those funds are going to come from. Right. With not seeing any further discussion, are we prepared to take a vote on this item? Are we prepared to have a motion on this item?
Move to approve.
Second. Oh, great. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes?
Barron,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. That brings us to item 5.
Second.
All right. We'll take the vote to adjourn.
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes?
Barron, English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thanks, everybody. See you at 6 o'clock.